and that's just really shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go. So that's just another huge reason to really think about this and who you're working with when you're going into this process for a new build.
Totally agree, because it's a different animal. I mean, you're making a lot of decisions on how to build your property. It's a lot different than saying, okay, I want that one or that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey y'all, Katie here with Team EvoAZ. Thank you so much for following us and listening to our podcast. Here is season 3, and we are super excited for this season. As you know, we are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, servicing buyers and sellers throughout the valley. But what you might not have known is we are expanding nationwide. So if you know of anyone that might be looking to get into the real estate business or needs to buy or sell a property, but it is not in Arizona, we can still help. Please feel free to message us and enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, it's Matt and
Katie.
Wait a sec, I did that backwards. I usually say it's Katie and Matt, and then it works a little bit better, but that's okay. You guys know us by now. We are the married couple from the Phoenix, Arizona area. We are both in real estate. We have been forever, it feels like. And we talk a little bit about life, a little bit about real estate on this podcast, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Awesome. And today we have one of our favorites. I always love having our team members on, because then we get to see them more. Love them so much. But we have one of our most fantastic ninjas with us today, talking about this subject, because when I think of new builds, like I think of you, JD, like you're the all-knowing oracle of the new build world, wouldn't you say?
Yes. So without further ado,
let's get right to it.
Welcome, JD.
JD.
Jen Duncan.
Jen Duncan.
There's a lot of AAs.
Jen Duncan. You know what?
Dizzle, the real estate new build ninja.
Yeah.
That's what I love calling her, actually. You know what's hilarious? The other day, like saying it backwards, like it's Matt and Katie or whatever. I said, I was like, hey, Munch, Stevie and Uncle Grammy are coming today. And now it's like a running joke.
Uncle Grammy.
Yeah.
It's like one of those new type identification things, possibly an Uncle Grammy.
It's just a new thing now. It's stuck.
All right. So that is not the topic for today. No. But it was a cute story. So the topic for today is new builds, JD. Let's tell our audience, let's give them a little bit of meat and potatoes, kind of the basics, right? The basic process. So when we're looking for new builds, first of all, how do we find them? Do you just drive around and look for them, or what do you do?
Well, I go out exploring a lot, so that's how I figure out a lot of them. But the website that I have, newbuildninja.com, has a whole bunch on there, pretty much all of them. So you can look up like floor plans and stuff like that, neighborhoods, but also like knowing which master plan communities are out there. Mm-hmm. Those usually have a bunch of builders too. So there's a good choice. So like there's a new one, Harvest. I was just there yesterday in Queen Creek, Eastmark, Cadence, Spur Cross, Verado. Those are like the big ones that are still building. So those are good to look to if you're looking to check out a bunch of builders. But there's like little ones popping up everywhere too.
Bunch of tiny ones, which is why I love your website, because you can go in there and you can put in your search criteria. So you can say area, obviously bedrooms, bath, square footage, stuff like that. You can say price point, and it will pull in. It's really cool. You should test it out if you haven't checked it out. It'll pull in all of the new builds that are currently selling in, within those parameters. So
otherwise there's not a place to look for all of them. You just have to know who the builders are and then go to their websites otherwise. But there's so many out there that, a normal consumer wouldn't know where to look.
Yeah, and not only that, a regular agent, an agent that's not focused on new builds. And that's what a lot of buyers run into in this market is they have an agent that's doing 99% resale and they don't ever really tiptoe in new builds. So when that buyer says, hey, I want a new build, they're kind of like, deer in the headlights, don't know really where to start, says maybe drive around, and that's just really shooting yourself in the foot from the get-go. So that's just another huge reason to really think about this and who you're working with when you're going into this process for a new build.
totally agree, because it's a different animal. I mean, you're making
is.
a lot of decisions on how to build your property. It's a lot different than saying, okay, I want that one or that one.
Yeah.
Right.
And also
Yeah,
where to
there's
start.
so many variables, like, you know, do you get to pick everything? Do they build it and you just pick like from what they have? There's just so much. And like every builder has a different process
Yep.
and every builder handles things differently. So there's a lot of the misconception is that if you work with an agent for a new build, that they just sign you in and peace out.
Some do.
That's what a lot do.
Some
'Cause they
do,
have no
yeah.
idea what they're
I've
doing.
heard
Yeah.
that so many times, but there's so much that goes into it. Like I could talk about it for hours.
Yes, you could.
I know.
Because
It's fun though.
this is your baby. This is your expertise. And that's why it separates you from a regular resale agent. You know the product, you know the process, you know the start to finish, cradle to grave, the whole thing. Where once again, a lot of these agents are exactly what you said. They sign them in and they are just as blue as their buyers are in going, what's the next step? What do we do? What are the options? And that's pretty sad.
Well, not only that, but she's built a couple.
Yeah, so you've
Yeah.
done it actually firsthand. You understand the
our third.
emotions as a consumer.
Mhm.
So that just makes you that much more effective when you're really trying to help people, get to the end.
Each house was different too. So this is our third one. Like our first house was, you did the full design center experience. You picked your lot. It was super easy. Second one, they had so many options that it was so overwhelming to pick. But then our third one was actually that the same builder that merged with another one. And this one was very simple. So they just offered like packages, like, either you do this platinum option or not. If you do the platinum, here's your cabinet choices, here's your counters. And some people like that because it's easier and less overwhelming, but some people really want that full experience. So that helps dictate where you go to.
Yep. And I love that you've been through it, because I always cringe a little bit when, I love all of the enthusiasm for new agents, but I cringe a little bit when they've never built a house or they've never bought a house.
Yeah.
And they're out there helping people do these things.
Right. Because some upgrades are not even worth doing. Like,
No.
you don't want to be the most expensive house on the block, but you don't want to be like the most basic either. So,
And like one of the things to go back with the new agent thing is you have a lot of or not even new agents, the seasoned agents that don't have experience with new builds. They have this feeling that when they get into this office and they sign their client and they have to now justify their worth, their value. And when they really don't know what's going on, they then try to flex some muscle and act like they know what's going on. And you and I both know that in this seller's market, new build seller's market, if you go and flexing too much muscle, it's going to have an adverse effect. You're going to piss people off.
Sure.
You're not doing, and I bet you there's a lot of agents that are doing that, trying to show off to their buyer. And they're actually like shooting themselves and their buyers in the foot big time by not playing the game. That's crazy.
Yeah. So lots of experience behind you, which is important.
Yes. Thank you. I put a lot of time into it. I mean, I love it. It's like something I love. So it's really, it's work, but it's not like, it's really fun to help people.
That's awesome.
Right. And that's the magic, right? When you have that passion behind what you're doing, that's the real magic right there. So let's go through the basic steps. Let's pretend I know nothing. And he does too. What are the steps to purchasing one? If I were a consumer out there and I was thinking a new build might be the route I want to go.
I usually recommend they actually talk to a lender first, like Ryan, who we work with. Now, some builders do have extra incentives for using their lender, but I like to have people talk to Ryan first so that they know what they're working with. So that way they don't go to a builder that's like overpriced and they're like, oh, well, I can't get that.
Right.
So it'll give you an idea of what direction to go. Nowadays, being such a seller builder's market, sometimes the incentives aren't even that great.
Or at all.
Right. So they can work with Ryan and we know that he's amazing. So it's good to start with him. So get your price. At that point, then it's just like learning, what do you want in a community, in a house? So that will help kind of dictate which way to go. Do you want the master plan with all the kid stuff and like events and everything, or do you want something like those small communities that they've been plopping in town more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Some people really want that because it's closer to work or they don't have kids or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be the next step, just determining what kind of product you're looking for.
Do you suggest your clients just write it out? Just sit there
Yeah,
and just make a huge list and
yeah,
prioritize the list kind of thing, just like we do on the resale end?
yes. So like usually I do that when we get more towards like picking options and stuff, but that's a great idea. Like to write it out, the area stuff, so we can kind of narrow it down.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, lists are great. Like when we did our house, we did a spreadsheet to see like what our options would be. It kind of saves marriages too, like when you have
Yeah.
like what you have to have versus what you might want, so you can kind of flex there.
Yeah.
It helps a
Especially
lot.
with location and all that stuff, because
Yeah,
that's going to be the kind of the big varying point, especially with these new build communities, how
yeah.
far, what direction,
I
and
mean, I just saw Blandford Homes. They bought a huge
you know,
that area in Awatuki where
yeah,
it goes from stuff to nothing to more houses.
$175 million he paid for that
I
lot.
know. So that's
Crazy.
gonna be great for people who wanna be close to things too
Yeah.
versus further out like Queen Creek or something like that. Um, so
I
yeah.
love what you said about spreadsheets, how they save marriages. I use spreadsheets all the time. And I think you're absolutely right, especially like with your second build, when you said that you had a lot of options to choose from. So once we decide on a new build, obviously we go visit, look at the models, and then, we start doing options. But you can tab out your spreadsheet at the bottom and
Mhm.
kind of narrow things down, and really keep that organized. So it's not so overwhelming, because that can be like, that can be debilitating,
It was.
Totally.
I mean, for us, we knew what budget we were working with, so we knew that certain things were priority. So with our last house, which I thought I'd never move from, honestly, but then COVID had different plans.
Never say
But so
never.
that house, like we were on a budget, so we had to prioritize what we wanted. We didn't do the best, we didn't do the worst. But what's funny is when it came to resale, our neighbors had sold, well, our neighbors had bought their house $100,000 more than what we paid. They upgraded a ton and they sold for a good amount, but we ended up selling higher and we had less options.
Less options.
So it ended up netting us more in the end, and we still had a nice house. I mean, of course, there's things I would love to have done on that house, but we loved it. So
Yeah.
it worked out great.
Well,
Um,
and like you're saying, like with new builds, there's just so many options, and
yeah.
especially as a buyer, or even if you're a seasoned buyer and you've had a few homes, it's really, really easy to get lost in the weeds. So
Yeah.
when you're considering all these things, and if you do your spreadsheet at the beginning and you really highlight the most important things, you slowly drift away from those most important things. So it's always good to, when things are chaotic, to look back at that and say, whoa, we're losing focus. We need
Yeah.
to draw it back in, and at least you kind of have an agreement with yourself.
Yeah. A lot of times I tell clients, I'm like, okay, put on, like when you're at the design center or whatever, put on what you want, but then know that you might drop some stuff off. So it feels good to like drop them off at the end. You're like,
Right.
oh, it's getting cheaper.
Right, right. And you also have a lot of advice in this particular department too, which I love. And I'm not going to go through it all right now, obviously, or I don't expect you to, but you really guide your clients through that design center experience. You guide them, well, through the whole thing, obviously, but you're really essential in helping them determine what is worth,
Yes.
getting and what isn't. I've seen you in action 1,000 times, and you're very, very good in that spot.
The lady at Toll Brothers told me that a couple weeks ago. She was like, she told the clients, they're like, you're really lucky to have her. She knows.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
thank you.
awesome.
Yeah. Experience is it, man. So we've located, so we know what we want. Now we've located a couple of communities, let's just say with your help and through the help of your website, because that's going to save a ton of time and energy. And in this day and age, you don't have time. So once we get to the community, then what?
So then we can start looking at go to the models, check out the floor plans. Some of them do require appointments to view. So just so you're not disappointed when you show up and they don't let you in, because we had that happen a few times.
Yeah. But
yeah,
you can make those appointments, right?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you're in good with all the builders anyway, but
Mhm.
you can get that
Yeah.
done. Okay.
For sure. So what you're going to want to do is like take a look at which builders have the floor plans that are in your budget. So I do tell people not to max yourself out right away either too. So like, if you're coming in with a budget of 400K and the model starts at like 390,
It's gonna be tight.
that
Yeah.
might be a little much, especially because of how things are right now, which we'll talk about too.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we just go to the models, check out what could work, and then see what's going on with their time frames and what their releases are like.
And then at that point, you get with the sales agent. She or he is going to give you, the details, what lots are available, things like that. And then you start the decision-making process. I mean, if you're ready to go, you can pretty much start right then, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So like right now, a lot of builders, some are doing a waiting list.
Mm.
We went to one that is deep into like 2023. So they have that many people interested. So you have to decide, do you have time or are you in more of a hurry? If you're more flexible, then you'll probably get what you want. But also going back to budget, like, if they're on a wait list, then the prices will go up.
Right.
So you have to make sure that you have that wiggle room, or else you're going to be stressed out and bummed out that you can't get the house.
Great point, because that's 2 years. That's a 2-year wait.
Yeah, I was surprised, and those price points aren't that low. So there's a lot of demand out there. Some builders are doing, so some are doing the waiting list also, but like people drop off the list because they
Right.
find something else.
Right.
So it might seem like it's forever, but your name comes up sooner than you think.
That's
so just
true.
Get on the list.
Exactly. Just get on the list and start looking at something else. That's
Mhm.
true. And I've had that experience recently in the last couple of months. But what I think is important to note is just because you're on the list, that doesn't mean you're locked in on the price that
No.
those models are at when you walk through the door.
Right. That's why I say be flexible. So like if you're on a $400,000 budget, if the model you like is already starting at 380, 390, you're going to be over
Yeah.
most likely
Yeah.
by the time you get there.
So,
Some builders are doing spec homes, which means like they build it with certain options and stuff, and then they release it before it gets framed or when it's getting framed. The reason for that nowadays is because of the lumber prices.
oh,
So a lot of builders have gotten burned because the prices are up, like 3 times higher than what they were last year.
it's insane.
So it's kind of out of their control. So a lot of them are securing the lumber price and building a spec home, and then they release them. So we actually just had a client get one on their first try. So
Awesome.
that was awesome. Some builders have completely stopped until they can do the spec homes, like Fulton.
They won't even sell. They won't put anyone on a waiting list. They're like, no, we're catching up with our current, what we've already sold. Obviously, every builder is behind on building right now. And I thought it was pretty admirable of Fulton to not do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
And you know what they told me too, is that they actually really appreciate the agents that work hard for their clients. So they're not doing a waiting list and they're not doing a lottery, but they're going by who is on top of it the fastest and who's ready to go.
That's absolutely 100% accurate with Fulton.
I love that. I was really
based on meritocracy, and that's a really, really good thing. And even these builders that are pushing things out their waiting list to 2023, I think that's kind of admirable too, because instead of like taking this like over promise, under deliver tactic where they're creating all this false demand and it just is the recipe for disaster if things change, they're like, hey, we're pushing it out to 2023. So the people that are saying, hey, we want to get in this, they're serious. They know that they got to wait. They're not like setting any false expectations, which I think is also really cool.
Now, some are doing a lottery too. So where I live, they're doing actually 2 things, a lottery and highest and best offers.
Yep. I've heard that.
Yeah. So like the higher end ones, they're doing highest and best, and they're going over by like $8,000 to $60,000.
I've seen some more. I've seen the lots go up to 100,000 over the lot premium.
Yeah. So if you don't have the extra cash, that's probably not the best option. but they do also have other series that are, you put your name in and see if they pick you. Which we hit that on the first try. So it's worth it to try.
Definitely. And it's worth it to work with somebody like you that has these personal connections with these builders. I mean, there's a reason why you're the new build ninja. It's because you've been doing it forever. You've built a couple of houses for yourself, 3 houses for yourself. Like you've built relationships with these people. And so you're then able to, in some cases, get some either insider information or some, get your client's foot in the door because of that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a relationship world. I'm sorry.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then, I mean, we offer extra incentives on top of what the builders do
for our buyers. Yeah.
You're getting like full service plus some extras, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was pretty funny because I think this might be, you correct me because you're the new build ninja, but I think this might be the only builder that has some lots totally available. I was in Casa Grande yesterday and I went to Richmond. And look at this big, huge sign. Can you see it?
That's like the unicorn.
Yeah, it's a total unicorn. It says lots available, no waiting list, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. So if you're more flexible and you want to move out further, sometimes you'll have a better chance. I mean, freeways are being built and everything, so it's not as bad anymore.
Right. Well,
out, it's quiet.
And Casa Grande is getting some really cool stuff there. I mean, they're going to have quite a few jobs here coming up in the next little bit, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a lot happening out in that area, especially
electric cars down there.
Yeah, they're really coming in with like Lucid, I believe, and a few other electric motors and or like supportive industries of that, even like the hydrogen and stuff that was supposed to be tailing on some of the other builds, which is really cool. So that area, and it's a straight shot. It's a straight shot.
Straight down the 10.
Yep. So, and you're that much closer to Tucson. If you had to go do business there, you're only, 45 minutes from Tucson, not even. So super cool area. I think we'll see that picking up.
Weren't they planning a theme park too?
Yeah.
I think they're going to do it.
We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, JD, how should buyers prepare themselves currently? Like, what should they expect in these current conditions? How should they emotionally and mentally prepare themselves? Because we know that's a thing.
My advice is just be flexible on your timing. So if you own a house, stay there. Don't sell it right away. In our case, we were able to stay until we had to sell at the end. So that really benefited us. Don't max out your budget when you're looking. Just have some wiggle room. Be flexible on your lot choices. So it's different. Most of the time you can't really go in and just pick what you want anymore. Sometimes you just have to pick what they have, but we can also talk about if that's a good choice or not. So I've had clients that they wanted us, they were in the drawing. This is the one that closed yesterday, actually. Sorry.
They're calling you right now.
They are. It's actually an agent calling. But so they were in this lottery, and the one lot that they could have gotten in that drawing backed up to Riggs, which is getting really busy. And I was like, I don't know if you'd want that. So they waited it out to the next one. They paid a little more, but I think that the resale value of what they got is better.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So you might not want to just take what they have and wait it out to the next one. And then deep breaths and lots of patience. So it'll happen. Just stay positive.
Yeah.
That's key.
I totally agree. JD, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, maybe they have questions, maybe they want to start this journey, what's the best way?
Either on Facebook at Jen Duncan, just message me, or my phone number is 480-707-7554, or it's Jennifer at EvoAZ.com.
That's awesome. And that I know we gotta do JD at EvoAZ.com because everybody's like, who's Jennifer? We know JD. I don't know. About it.
But yes, I would love to talk about it.
And then that website again is newbuildninja.com.
Yes. So that will take you so you can look at, all the floor plans all over. It's really cool.
Heck yeah. Yeah. It's a great resource. Really a great resource.
Super useful tool. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, JD. And you, audience members, if any of you are interested in being a guest on our show, please follow us at Team EvoAZ. That is our handle on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Please give us a little follow when you're there, right? But send us a message. Let us know who you are and what you'd like to talk about. We are looking for new guests to interview. And while you're listening to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform, please subscribe, like, download, and rate us so that we can get more of the real news to the real people. All right, my love. Until next time.
Until next time.
Thanks, JD.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.